Hello everyone, welcome back to another modding tutorial, this time covering sources for items. So that will be item sources, drop tables, recipes, and recipe scrolls. So I didn't cover, last time I actually made a mistake and I forgot to mention recipe scrolls because that is an item. So when you go to items here and you go to, you can just scroll down here, recipe item. And you see here, crafting. So this is the crafting recipe scroll. That is this item. So it's an item that gives you knowledge about how to craft something. So that's basically what I have, I think, here. Crafting for the fang axe. That's this one. And how this works is that it's the same fields as what I taught you guys last episode. The only thing is that we have this field down here at the end. Is sl recipe item dot recipe uid, and that points to a particular crafting knowledge, which is part of this tab here. So when you click on this item, this is added to your interface, this knowledge of this recipe. And we can find the corresponding recipe in this tab. I think it should be this one here, but if you just search it up, then you will be able to find it. It's W. So that is the axe that you get, the knowledge how to craft the axe. So it has this particular UID. You can name yours whatever you want. You have the station type, so that is if it is in this survival crafting interface, or if you, for example, go to a cooking pot, that is another one, or alchemy kit. So it's mainly these three here at the top. Forge I don't think is used anywhere, and I don't think count is used either, but I might be mistaken. You have the ingredients you can choose for the input. So in this case you have wood and iron scrap. So you would have to put in the wood item ID. So you go to your items as per usual. You need to get the right category. So you go with this one, and then you need for the other one here, iron. So you can basically craft your own input, and then the output will be what you find here, which is the fang axe. So that is the basics of it. You have an add specific item ingredient and the ID. You can change this to another thing called the generic item ingredient. And in that case, we can take a look at an example of that. It's always best to look at examples where you use those generic ones, because those are to be very particular strings. In this case, this is to craft 3 travel rations, and it uses this add generic ingredient for a ration ingredient. So that is the name or the tag. We can ensure if it is the tag. We can take a quick look. So let's take a look at meat. We need to not be in ammunition. So if you go raw meat, this might be a tag, or it might also not be, I am not sure. Yeah, so I guess it checks for this tag. Don't quote me on that, but you can give it a try and check if it is matches with the tag or not. Yeah. And that is pretty much the basics of the recipes and crafting. Yeah, this is also the quantity, so you specify how many you will get out. So for these arrows, you have a quantity of 3. So this works for changing. You can change existing recipes, but you can also make new ones. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so let us go over the drop tables and what it does. So a drop table there are 2 different versions or 2 different types. You can have both of them at the same time and be active. So you have your guaranteed drops. So basically your item. Usually this is the quantity that you're choosing. You're not adjusting these, and the same goes when you are using a random drop tables. So you don't usually change this min number of drops or max number of drops. You usually just assign these different values, and this dice value here, different values, and you have your drop ID. So let us say that in this case, that we want a 50% chance of getting a drop. Basically, you have a state here that is no drop, and you have a state here where you have a drop. So that is what we have here, no drop, dice value is set here. So that is 1. If you want a, let's say you want a 1 in 3 chance, then this would be 2, and this is 1. 2 and 2, that is the same as, say if I do this, basically, that is a 50% chance still. 2 out of 2 gives the result. You can have multiple, so you can have, let's say this is 2 out of 2, and then we have another one here, and this one is purple, so that's another item. So this could be like a third one, right? And you can keep going on and assigning different drop IDs there as well. Right now I set this to the Star Sword here, and I have the Mefino's backpack as a guaranteed drop. So can change this to a more intuitive state. So I have 1 empty and 1 that is a drop. And then, so that is just assigning the drop table. This is just purely mathematical. But how do we attach this to a source, like this trader over here? That is being done by the DropTableAddition here. So you go to ItemSources, and then here you have multiple different kinds of ItemSources. You have DropTableAdditions. So this would be, for example, merchants or drops from enemies. Then you have ItemContainerSpawns. I have actually never used this. Well, we can take a look at that afterwards. And then at the end, we have ItemSpawns. So if you, for example, have a bandage that spawns somewhere in the game world, like on the ground, then this is how you would do that. So let's take a look at this DropTableAddition. So I already made one here that is actually not correct. So right now we have general store that we are gonna assign. This is incorrect, so we have to get the correct one. And I made this mistake. So if you go open our Unity Explorer and we open this inspector, we change it to World Inspect. We can click on this NPC. I made a mistake earlier when I was recording to grab this ID. But that is not the ID of the merchant inventory. That is the ID of the NPC. So the actual merchant inventory is inside here. Merchant template, NPCs, and merchant settings. And then you have this merchant component. So it's this UID, merchant holder ID, that the game is looking for. So let us put that in instead. Not sure why there's a plus there. So I'm just going to close that. Then I'm going to put this in here. So now we have our merchant. I just gave this a name. Doesn't matter. This one is actually never used. But we have our drop UID, and that is basically the one that we assigned over here. So this is the one that you need to have unique. So your unique UID, you just plop that back in this field. So that means that you attach this drop table to this target, and you can have multiple targets here, and they can be merchants or they can be enemies. Okay, good. So right now we should have this added, but it won't update until I reload. So I need to reload and reload this area, I think, as well. I'll give it. See you in a second. Okay, we are back. Let us check the store.
Is there something you need?
It does not contain the backpack. Let me reload this area. Okay, I've reloaded the game, and we can see now that we do have our items here that we added by the drop table. One thing that we need to be careful about is that sometimes when we check these traders, then we actually find the case that they are not unique, that these settings, these UIDs are shared between different merchants, so that when you add one item or drop table, they will be added to all, like multiple traders at once. So I would be careful. If you ask the Discord, they will probably point out which is shared. I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked at it myself, so just something to be careful about. Anyway, that is it for traders. Let's move on to drop tables from enemies. Okay, so let's do the drop tables from the enemies. So, how do we add a drop table to a pearl bird or any enemy? Most enemies. I will get into some exceptions very soon. So, we have our interface here, and we want to find the selector targets for this pearl bird. The way we do that, we do the same. We open our Unity Explorer mod. We click on world. We select the bird. And if we're lucky and we are in the right side of the right level in the hierarchy, sometimes it selects like the beak or stuff like that, and then you basically start like this, and then you just click parent until you get to this point. And the thing that we are after is lootable on death and the loot droppers here. So this is the string that we need. So can I get the name of that? I might need to type this in. Oh, here. That should be the name, right? Yeah. I can then open my sideloader interface, and I can add this here. And that should add the same drop table to this pearl bird. Yeah, we can give it a quick go. I'll reload and we'll see. Okay, we are back. And let us kill this pearl bird. And it drops the backpack, and we had a 50% chance for getting the sword, and we didn't get it. So it's working. Okay, so we have traveled to browser. I wanted to explain one of the exceptions that I briefly mentioned earlier, and that is the case that you have here. So if you open up our Unity Explorer, we do the same thing as earlier. We open the inspector, select world, we click on this NPC, and now we are on the visual. If we go up a couple of steps here, we get to the place we want to be. We go to lootable on death. In here, you see the weird thing. There are two drop tables here attached. You have the drop table of the galvanic golem, and you also have the drop table of the lightning blade dancer, which is one of the unique enemies in the Antique Plateau's huge dungeon. Right, so the thing here that we need to be aware of is that some drop tables are shared between enemies. So if we use this name here, this galvanic golem drop table name, and we add that, let's see if I open this interface. If you add that here, that will change the drop table of this golem, but also all other enemies that use this drop table. Likewise, if we do the same for this here, this drop table name here, and we add that instead, and we remove the galvanic golem, that means that we'll add this drop table to these ones. So these attach a drop table to another drop table. So in this case, it means that we are not going to add the drop table to the galvanic golem, but we are going to add this drop table to everything that has the lightning bladed dancer. Okay, so there's a distinction there to be made. So you might be wondering, okay, how do we add a unique drop to this enemy? And that was one of the problems I had in NPC weapons. I wanted to drop these weapons to this guy and this guy only. And the only way you can do that is by, or that I know of at least, is by matching the name of the character. So if you go here, the thing that makes him unique is this name, the golem boss. And if you go to character, I think it should have a name at some point. maybe a name. Yeah, Compass of the Guardian. So you can look for this particular name and you can give an item to the drop table based on that. But yeah, you have to do that in C# coding. So that is a big thing that you need to be aware of if you want to add specific drops to specific enemies and exclude others, even though when they're sharing the same drop tables. Okay. That's basically the detour that I mentioned earlier. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the next template here was the ItemContainerSpawn. I don't have knowledge of this myself, so I recommend you guys to ask people on the modding Discord to understand what this actually does. It seems very similar to another thing, which is the ItemSpawn. So that is the one that we're going to do next. ItemSpawn here. You can just fill in whatever name that you want, and then I already done that here. ItemSpawn test. So basically you put in your name, your item ID, same as earlier. Just go here, you put in, if there's a custom item ID that you have, you put that in here, or if there's an existing item ID, you can put that in. The quantity of items in that stack, the scenes that they are spawning in, or the scene. This is a singular term. Not scenes, but scene. So the way you find the scene is that we go to Object Explorer in this case, and then here we have scenes. If you're in different dungeons, this will have a different name. So the name depends. So I'm gonna just run away here a bit. So let's say we go to the electric lab and we're gonna spawn an item there. What would we put into those fields? So earlier we saw that the scene was called Abrasar. We can probably see it load in here. So here we go, Abrasar Dungeon 2. So in this case, if we would want to spawn an item inside of this dungeon, we would use this name for the scene. For example, let us just drop in, what kind of item should we drop? Let's see, a gold sword, gold lich sword, just something simple. The way we would do that, we would drop this sword on wherever we want to have it be located. So you can move your character to a desk, you can drop the item on the desk, and then you click on this item in this Object Explorer. This will open up the inspector, and then you have your position and you have a rotation. Sometimes it works well that you can just rotate this. For example, now I'm rotating around the y-axis, and you probably can't rotate this one because that would rotate it into the floor. But there is physics on it. You can disable the physics momentarily while you're adjusting it. But that is basically, is it stuff here? No. One of these would contain information of how to do that. I won't get sidetracked by that though. And then you can also slide it on the floor like this. Anyway, these are the positions and the rotations that you will need to fill in here for the spawn position and the spawn rotation. You can put in the player rotation and the player position, but I find it inconsistent and I find it easier to just move it if you have it on a table or on the floor by using the Unity Explorer and setting those values there first and then moving them over and saving them. So that's basically these parameters. Then you have force non-pickable. That means that they are basically decorative items. They can't be picked up by players. The main thing here in this case is that there is a bug where people can actually pick them up. I'm not sure if it happens in co-op specifically, but I have heard from people that they have been able to pick items up, even if they're set to non-pickable in this menu here. I don't know about these last 3 options here. I've never used them. I recommend asking for help or guidance if you guys want to use it. I don't know. And that is pretty much everything about item spawns. And I think that should have covered everything that I wanted to cover for this episode. I might not make another episode in this series. If you guys are curious how to do characters, I recommend looking into mods out there that are adding skill trainers. It's very simple. It does look very complicated, but it's very simple. So yeah, I would just look at how another mod does it, and most of these fields you don't even need to change. The only thing that you need to change is there's one of these fields for how the skill tree is structured, and that's pretty much it. Then other things that might be interesting is enchantments. There is a mod already out there called I think the enchantment should be in Weapon Balance patch by Proboina, and that mod has a lot of enchantments, so that's a really good reference. It contains both regular vanilla enchantments from Outward, but also the new Sirocco enchantments. So you have a reference there for both of them. Lastly, we have status effects. I briefly touched that last episode, so I won't go over that. And I think that should be everything in sideloader. So I hope you all liked the tutorial and it was useful. And I hope you all have a great day. Let me know if there's any questions, and if you guys want me to make a particular video on some topic for sideloader, just send me, just comment, and I'll try to make a video on that topic if I have time. It's been quite busy recently, but yeah. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. Have a great day. Thanks all for watching. Love you guys. Take care.